Hello and welcome to Fast Horses Today for opening day over at Del Mar. Today is Thursday. It's October 30th and opening day of the Bing Crosby Fall Meet, which also includes the Breeders' Cup, which will be happening tomorrow and Saturday over at Del Mar. But let's get started with opening day. Got a few horses that I do like, as well as a late pick 5 ticket. So we'll get started here. A couple win bets and a late pick 5 ticket, as I mentioned. So we'll get started in the third race. Third race has an approximate post time, about 1:30 Pacific. So they're starting a little earlier there than normal there at Del Mar. Try to get all the races in, make sure they have enough daylight. But the third race is where we're going to start here. Again, 1:30 Pacific post time there in the third race. So 3:30 here in the Central Time Zone. This is a maiden special weight race, an open maiden special weight race for 2-year-olds. They're going a mile on the grass. I've got a win bet that I'm going to make here, that being on the 2-horse Brigante. Brigante for Doug O'Neill. Antonio Fresu takes the call here. Now, Fresu was on this horse in his career debut back at, in the summertime at Santa Anita. They ran a 5-furlong grass sprint. He came second to a horse named Hey Nene. Hey Nene is going to be running on the Breeders' Cup card on Friday, and having, I think, a legit chance to win the race that he's going to be in. So, Hey Nene is a nice horse, has won a couple times. Brigante came second to Hey Nene. They subsequently thought so much, they ended up putting Brigante in a couple stakes races over at Del Mar in the Grade 3 Best Pal. Ran a decent race there with Desert Gate, and then ended up putting a horse in the Del Mar Futurity, so ran up against Brandt. So, I forgive the horse for those races. It just seems like, he probably took on a little more than he was ready for at that point. The last race that he ran was in the Speakeasy. I had liked this horse that day. I think I'd given this horse out as well. And this horse was a disappointment in the Speakeasy. That's a 5-furlong grass race at Santa Anita. They put blinkers on. This horse didn't really break out all that great and just kind of trailed the field. It was a disaster of a race. So I don't know, maybe the blinkers were not what this horse liked. I don't know, but they're taking the blinkers off. So I'm going to guess that they didn't like that, or the horse didn't like that. They're putting Fresu back on the horse, who rode this horse probably to his best race. And mile on the grass, this horse should have no problem there, being by more than ready out of an AP Indy mare. So distance should be no problem there. Maybe on the AP Indy side, maybe they didn't like running 5-furlong grass sprint. Who knows? But 5-2, I think Brigante is worth a win bet, and I think we'll get a good price on Brigante. Some nice horses in that race, so people might look at that last race and throw the horse out. But we're going to go back with Brigante 5-2. We'll take that, maybe a little more in the third race. All right, now let's move over to the next race we're going to play here. That being the fifth race. Fifth race is it's a allowance race here, first level allowance race with an option to claim for 50. They're going a mile and a 16th on the grass. This does start the late pick 5. So as I mentioned, I've got a late pick 5 ticket here. So we're starting here in the fifth race. Now in this turf race here, I've got 3 horses to try to get this pick 5 started. We're going to put the one horse who was Angelic Appeal for Phil D'Amato, Flavian Pratt on board here. This horse comes off a very long layoff. We haven't seen this horse in just over 2 years. So apparently the horse was out there on the farm or training, I don't know. But Phil D'Amato brings this horse 4-1 in the program. This horse had come off the boat over, from Europe. So, it's really hard to determine when the horse came over as well. So, she's been working at Santa Anita. So the horse has been in Southern California for a bit. But anyway, we'll put this horse in. Maybe this horse will be ready off the long layoff. I don't think this is that strong of a field. So, I don't want to have Flavian Pratt kick off this pick 5, and we're not in it. So I'm going to put the one horse Angelic Appeal. Going to also put the 3 horse who starts now for Richard Baltus, and John Velasquez takes the call here. Looks like Baltus has the benefit of having Velasquez, take the mount. Starts now at, has been knocking in and around the California starter allowance and the allowance ranks. This horse had a little bit of a break. It was running back in the springtime at Santa Anita. Had 2 starts, after that break. Once at Del Mar, once at Santa Anita. It looked to me like this horse had run a couple nice even races in this allowance, first level allowance category. And it looked like maybe the horse might have needed the races. So I think this horse, after those 2 starts, could come across here very ready. And, I'm looking at the last race. Maybe the horse kind of might have bounced a little bit off that initial race from the layoff. He was a favorite that day, and just as I mentioned, got an even run there. There was really no excuse, but also the horse just ran evenly. Not a bad race. 5-1. We'll put starts now here. That being the 3 horse. And then finally going to put the 8 horse. 8 horse being Delightful Laura. Blinkers on this horse. This horse comes out of the John Sheriff's barn. Hector Barrios takes the call. Now, she's really found, a new lease on life here in her last couple starts at Del Mar. She really liked the Del Mar turf course. She ended up breaking her maiden, probably got away with one. They put her in a maiden 62,500 race, and she blew the field out at a pretty good price. So, maybe the Sheriff's Barn, got lucky with that one. This horse being a $150,000 purchase, might have been a give up there. But she followed that up with a really nice effort in a first level allowance at Del Mar. Took the lead, ended up getting beat right near the wire by Wordplay. Wordplay's been a sharp horse lately, so Delightful Laura is 5-2, so she's a program favorite. We'll see if she goes off that way. They're putting blinkers on her today, so we'll leave it up to the Sheriff's Barn on why they did that. She had been showing speed without the blinkers, but they're putting them on. Maybe it looks to me like she might just clear this field. If some of these other horses aren't ready to go, she could probably take them to distance here at 5-2. So we're going to put the 1, 3, and 8 to start off the pick 5 in the 5th race. All right, now let's move over to the 6th race of the day. 6th race is a 6-furlong dirt race. This is a California-bred maiden claimer. These are $50,000 horses, and these are fillies and mares 3 years old and up. I've got 2 horses I'm going to put in here. I feel one of these 2 will advance the ticket. That being the favorite in the 3, Amelia's Echo for Phil D'Amato. Ricardo Gonzalez takes the call here. This horse 2-1 in the program. We'll probably see, somewhere right around there, probably even less. This horse has been in and around this condition, has run some good races. I think the races that she has run probably puts her just right, squarely into the winner's circle here. There's not a whole lot of talent in this field. So Amelia's Echo with Ricardo Gonzalez, should be a big factor here at 2-1. And then I'm going to put the 6 horse, who is Clubhouse Cutie. Ian Kruljack, trainer Armando Ayuso on board. This horse drops into the maiden 50,000 claim ranks off of 3 starts in the maiden special weight ranks at California bred. So she's dropping in here. Had a bit of a layoff. We haven't seen her since the Los Al meet back in July. She's run some even races here, with what they've tried with her. So I think this drop here, maybe even the layoff probably helps too. Maybe this horse will come out fresh here over at Del Mar. 4-1. Clubhouse Cutie should be much faster today, just based on the drop that she's going into 50,000 claiming races, coming off these special weight races where she shows some even effort. So we're going to put the 3 and the 6 in the 6th race. All right, now let's move over to the 7th race of the day. 7th race is a stake race here. It's a $100,000 restricted stakes to Let It Ride, and it's a mile on the grass. And I'm not really sure. I'm wondering if they named this to Let It Ride based on the movie Let It Ride back, several decades ago about horse racing. I think it might be a tie in there. But as I mentioned, this is a restricted stakes. This is kind of similar to, when they run the Oceanside at Del Mar. This is a 3-year-old turf race at a mile, and there's a restriction there, non-winners of a sweepstakes of 60,000 or more. So kind of similar conditions to when they run the Oceanside opening day at Del Mar in the summer race. So in the summer season. So I'm going to put 3 horses here in this race. I think one of these 3 will get it done. I'm going to put the 4, who is Geometry, for Jonathan Thomas. Jonathan Thomas, definitely sends a lot of horses out to California nowadays, and he does quite well. So this horse is 5-2 in the program. Gets John Velasquez on the horse. Horse has had some experience at Del Mar, having won an allowance race, back in the summertime, and then, running a nice even race in the Grade 2 Del Mar Derby. So this horse certainly, has shown a propensity to like Del Mar. And, they ended up taking this horse back east where, the Thomas stable usually is based, in the Augustin stable. They ended up running in the Kent Stakes over at Delaware. Another even race here. This horse should fit well, 5-2, certainly no secret. We're also going to put the 5 horse, who was Lyle the Crocodile, Phil D'Amato. Phil D'Amato's got a lot of live horses today on opening day, it seems. Lyle the Crocodile gets the services of Irad Ortiz today, 4-1 in the program. This horse has been, been running some good races, but, it seems to have a little bit of a, maybe the physical doesn't match up with the mental, I think. He kind of has a mind of his own when he runs. In some of his races, he's just really kind of run some odd races, and I think he, as I mentioned, has a mind of its own. And I like the switch to Irad Ortiz. Irad Ortiz, certainly, you don't get any better than Irad Ortiz here in North America. He takes the call here for Phil D'Amato. Not like he's ridden a whole lot for D'Amato because he doesn't ride a lot out west, but I think when he does, Irad Ortiz certainly wins races where he can do that anywhere. Now, Lyle the Crocodile, Lyle the Crocodile, has had 3 races here in the States. He ran in an allowance race back at Santa Anita in his first start off the boat. I thought ran a nice race there with Day and Age and the Padre, who are both nice horses, as well as Game Warriors. It was a very live allowance race. They ended up putting this horse in the Oceanside. And Oceanside is opening day at Del Mar. As I mentioned, this race is very similar in conditions to the Oceanside. Horse ran a nice race that day, ended up coming third to Game Warrior. The problem started in the last race. He kind of had a rough trip. They eased the horse. He was a big favorite that day at 3-5 in an allowance race. Now we haven't seen him since. So he's been training. Maybe, Phil D'Amato's worked some of the kinks out of Lyle the Crocodile and, puts Irad Ortiz. So we're going to put this horse in. And then we're going to also put the 6 horse, who was Friendly Confines, Richard Baltish trainer, and Flavian Pratt. And for those of you follow baseball, the maybe Cub fans out there, Friendly Confines, that's the nickname for Wrigley Field. I'm presuming that's what they named this horse here for. So Friendly Confines comes in at 2-1. Flavian Pratt takes the call. She's been running in California. She's got 4 starts with 2 wins, including a win being at Del Mar. And, an allowance race there at Del Mar. That was back in the fall meeting. Hasn't run since, but you know what? I think maybe the breather, the break has, probably freshened her up. She looks like she's been training nicely. 2-1, certainly no secret. We will put Friendly Confines. So we've got the 4, 5, and 6 in the 7th race. All right, now let's go to the 8th race of the day. 8th race of the day is a maiden special weight California bred race. This is a 2-year-old race here, and they're running 6 furlongs. And these are maiden 2-year-old boys. I've got a single here, and I'm going to make a win bet on this horse. I do like that being the 11 horse, Another Bullet. Another Bullet comes out of the Paula Capestro barn. Now, Paula Capestro, has been having a tough year, but I mean, she's had some horses run nicely. And I think we all know Paula Capestro is a very capable horsewoman. And, she wins races. I'm just not exactly sure what the problem has been this year. So we're going to give Paula a chance here. Well, more than a chance, because we're going to single her. And we're going to make the win bet on the 11 horse, Another Bullet. Mirko DeMuro takes the call. He's been on this horse every time. This horse has run some good races, including some good races at Del Mar. I like this horse based on, I like this outside post. I think this horse will have a nice stalking trip. I think really the key is, I hope DeMuro gets this horse out cleanly and, close to the front. Not too far back. You're not going to be able to do a whole lot, closing from way back far there. I'm thinking, maybe a mid-pack to a first-pack trip. And I think this horse will finish up nicely in the stretch. He's shown a nice kick. And, it's just a matter of, I think he's found a field that, he should probably run by here. So 4-1 on this horse, Another Bullet. Going to make the win bet and also single Another Bullet here in this race here in the 8th race. Now let's go to the next race of the day. That being the last race, the 9th race. 9th race is a allowance race, first level allowance with an $80,000 claim option here. These are fillies, 3-year-olds. They're going a mile on the grass. I think it's a pretty open race. Hoping that we got a live ticket here, had that single in, and we've got I've got 5 horses here to pay this pick 5 off. As I said, I feel it's kind of open, so have no singles here or anything like that. We're going to put the 1 in, who is Ribbons for Leonard Powell. Mirko DeMuro takes the call here, and I got DeMuro on a couple horses. Hopefully he's got his riding boots on and ready to go today. This horse had a nice 3-race stretch over at the Del Mar Summer Meeting, having broken her maiden in the maiden special weights at a big price, but then she followed that up with a couple really nice runs in this same level allowance race, running, getting beat near the wire both times. So, the last time she ran was at Santa Anita. They put her in the same type of race. She had kind of a rough trip. I'm going to throw that race out. We'll say, like they say, line it out. And, maybe she put the cue in the rack and, fought, make sure she could fight another day. So I think that's what DeMuro did there. We're going to line that race out. Ribbons is 5-1. I think she's worthwhile putting in here. We're going to also put the 2-horse, the Mizzen Queen for Dan Blacker, Hector Barrios. Now this horse, they brought this horse over from Europe. She ran in the summertime over at Del Mar. She's had 2 starts at Del Mar, likes it there with a win in a second, broke her maiden at Del Mar at 2 turns. Hector Barrios is on the horse again. So this horse, all systems should be go for her. She fits very well in this kind of race. She's 5-1, certainly dangerous. Hector can probably work out a nice trip. He's done some really nice work on the Del Mar grass course, so certainly could do it here at 5-1. Going to put the 3-horse was Mbaya for Jonathan Thomas and Augustin Stables. Certainly a great combination there. They do a lot of good work since they've been sending horses the last few seasons to Southern California. This horse has had 3 starts in her life. She comes out of a stakes race over at Delaware, and those races have been translating to Southern California. So Thomas has been spotting his horses very well. He's been placing horses very well, and has done very well, as I mentioned, in his ventures out to Southern California. She's 4-1, and they put a European jockey, O'Sheen Murphy, is in for the ride. He's in for the Breeders' Cup. So O'Sheen Murphy going to get a spin around the Del Mar turf course and see how it is there. So we'll put the 3 and Baya. Going to put the 6 horse. 6 horse was Cat the Confidant. John Sadler, trainer. He gets his main man Rosario to ride here. As I've mentioned previously, I know these guys are a good team. Certainly he likes to have Rosario on his horses. This horse has been running in the California ranks here, California circuit, in the open company. These same first level allowance races. Been running just kind of even races here. Has been running up in some big fields, and maybe, has had a little traffic, some trip problems. We'll see if Rosario can get this horse in a clean trip. I think she could finish up well at 10-1. That would be Cat the Confidant. And then finally, going to put the 10 horse. 10 horse being Resolve for Leonard Powell. Diego Herrera takes the call here. Now, this horse also likes Del Mar, having, her only win at Del Mar. She's 1 for 4 at Del Mar, also with a 3rd on the turf course. Her last couple races, she's been a long shot. I mean, she ran in the Grade 1 Del Mar Oaks. We're going to, forgive her for that effort. It's been really, I think it was probably a little deeper waters than she needed to be in. But, she ran a nice race at a big price at Santa Anita in a mile grass race at this same level. I could expect, and see the same type of race there. That kind of race can certainly put her in the winner's circle here at 8-1, in a very open first level allowance field. So we've got the 1, 2, 3, 6, and 10 to cap off that pick 5. All right, now let's recap the day and recap the bets. Okay, so for opening day, Thursday, October 30th, we've got a couple win bets today, as well as a late pick 5 at Del Mar. So let's get started in the 3rd race. We're going to make a win bet on the 2, Brigante. Move over to the 5th race. We're going to start out that pick 5 with the 1-3-8, with the 3-6, with the 4-5-6, with the 11, with the 1, 2, 3, 6, and 10. Now that pick 5 ticket today is a $45 ticket. And then we've got the win bet in the 8th race on the 11, another bullet. So if you see fit and you want to play as is, I wish you the best of luck. If you want to add or subtract to the ticket, you do what you need to do. You want maybe play the pick 3s within it, the pick 4 within it. Whatever you decide to do, I wish you the best of luck. Let's wish the folks over at Del Mar a very safe day of racing for their opening day. Let's wish ourselves some good luck and some good trips. It really does matter at Del Mar. We'll get some winners here. So again, I thank you so much for watching Fast Horses today and listening to the picks. You can always like, dislike, make comments, good or bad. I promise to respond to everything. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so. It delivers the content to you for free. And, we will be back for more coverage over the weekend, including the Breeders' Cup Saturday at Del Mar, where the turf meets the surf. Happy opening day.